Hello, welcome in to Brown's Film Breakdown. I am not Jake Burns. I am Peter Moses. Welcome to the show. Excited to have you here. Today I am joined by Scott from our website, former scout. Scott, when I introduce you or when I talk about you to Jake, I call you Scott Buca de Beppo because I'm always nervous I'm going to mispronounce your last name. But Scott Di Benedetto is here. Did I say it right?
Correct. Yes.
Hell yeah.
Great
Scott
restaurant. Great restaurant.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with being compared to Buca de Beppo. Yeah, Scott's here. We are going to react to the draft as we will be doing for the next 3 months on this program and website. Jake is taking a well-deserved day off. He is just pumping out content while I don't know if he's got like a collapsed lung or black lung or COVID or double COVID, but Jake's recovering. He's put out so much stuff. You heard him on a pod yesterday with Jared Mueller from Dogs by Nature. He has a newsletter that just came out about the Deontay Johnson signing. He's got film rooms up of so many of the draft picks we're going to talk about today. Carson Schweisinger. He's got stuff on Mason Graham. He's got a film room that Scott and Jake did last month about Shador Sanders. So much content over at brownsfilmbreakdown.com. Please join us. You can subscribe there for a couple cups of coffee. Get all that stuff. Get in on the Slack chat, which is always firing off. If you want to join our founding members who are actually in Slack, the other one's on the Substack. That one is absolutely crazy all the time. Just a great conversation. Little Cavs talk, because Cavs are hot right now. And yeah, otherwise, give us 5 stars. Give us a review if you're on YouTube. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. We're here. We're in it. It's Brown season, baby. We just had a draft. So, Scott, welcome to the show. Wanted to get your reaction. We'll talk a little draft. And then later in the show, we're going to get your pick-by-pick grade of everything. That'll be behind the paywall for the real ones who are supporting us, which you guys can all listen to. But we're just going to have a general conversation, just your kind of reaction of the draft.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me in, Peter. Appreciate you. I don't know if we haven't done a pod before, have we? I don't think so. We've spoke, but not on the pod.
No, not on mic. I think this is a first for us.
Well, first for everything. We were kind of talking off air here, like the further. I mean, it hasn't even been. It's only been a few days, but like the further out that we are, I think everything other than the quarterback picks were pretty good. Like to be honest, like I think that I really wanted Hunter. If you watch the live stream that we did, like, yeah, I was a little bummed, as not as much as Jake, but I was definitely bummed when they traded out.
Jake was like the Ben Affleck "Hello Darkness, My Old Friend" meme. He just like couldn't not stare longingly into the distance. It was tough for him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I thought, like, look, similar thoughts to Jake. Like, he's a 2-for-1 player that could really help the team in a lot of ways. But I said this on the stream, like I love really good defensive lineman prospects. I think Mason Graham is that, and I think that he can be a contributor early in his career, and then you can't really judge the trade fully until they do whatever they do with the pick next year, the extra first. But like getting an extra first or having an extra first rounder is always a good thing. And swinging the extra second into Judkins, I think is a great move. I think like that trade, like it stung at first, like not getting Hunter and not getting a fun player like that. But it was a smart move. It was a savvy move overall, and like really getting the extra picks kind of, you got to see how it pans out. But I think that can really set them up well for next year too in the draft.
It's hard to be a website that talks about how we're going to break down film, take an analytical approach, be level-headed, look at the tape, and try to react to something in real time on a live stream. Like those two things feel kind of in direct conflict with each other, and there was no way to not be pumped because all of the noise was about Travis Hunter. And knowing what we know now, they had this in place for weeks. I mean, I
Right.
guess what I'm curious from your perspective is like, what did you think about your time there with this being such a smokescreen? Like, was that something that you, in hindsight, like, how is that even communicated? Like, who knows that? Like, do you know that? Like, what is the level? What's the trust tree there in terms of kind of how that gets set up, or just kind of also what was your reaction to it as someone who had been in the building for as many years as you were in terms of just the thinking of AB and them to do this?
Yeah, so I definitely was not in the trust tree. I was thrown out of the trust tree the minute that, arguably the minute I was hired, but definitely the minute that AB came back in the building, I was thrown out of the trust tree. No, he is. I don't know how things have changed exactly since I've been gone, but towards the end, especially like the last year and a half, like his circle was very, very tight. Um, there were like department wide meetings, like scouting department meetings. My first like year and a half, even into Dorsey a little bit, of like where we would get basically yelled at by the like the communications guys of like, how are we leaking this stuff? Like, why is this happening? Because like that was obviously an issue, before I arrived, and like that was like they were hammering that hard to not be a leak. Don't let this out of the room, in every meeting. And even I'm sure he's still saying AB says like stays in his room after every meeting when he gives out sensitive material. So I think that, and I should say, by the time I was done with the team, I mean, his circle was 4 people, maybe, Kevin, Jimmy, JW, and like the communications guy probably, and then maybe Glenn Cook, the assistant GM. I think it was very small. So for it to get all the way to, the day before the draft or draft day earlier, like whatever it was when it kind of started breaking, I think it was the night before. That's a good thing, because that means that like what he wants and what the team wants of not having leaks is working. I don't think that many people, like many of the scouts, would have known about it. Many of just even like the area guys, I don't think the national guys would have really known about it. So I don't think many people in the building knew that the trade was in place. They might hear like rumblings or whatever, but like to know all the details, like I don't think that was. I don't think that was known by many people. And like the fact that it got so so close to the draft before coming out, like kind of proves that nobody really knew about it. Cause like it would have naturally come out. Like it's impossible to not have leaks, if something big like that is told to everybody. So I don't think that many people knew about it, which is a good thing. But yeah, I mean, it would have been big. Like, I don't know when they would have told everybody. Yeah. So thinking back to when we got Baker in 2018 there, like, so we were like, my group was kind of on the outs anyway with Dorsey. Like he didn't really care for anyone related to the analytics research department project, whatever. But I guess a standard thing that like the personnel department tries to do on every Thursday of the draft, at least the people who aren't the ones making the picks or needing final, like, walkthroughs of reports or whatever, like we would go golfing in the morning, because like everybody would be up early, like everybody would be in town. One of the few times a year everyone's in town, we get a group of guys, we go golfing at like 9 o'clock in the morning. So that morning, like nobody knew who we were going to pick, to my knowledge. Like that was even like area scout, whatever. Nobody knew who we were going to pick. Dorsey had like the board completely covered in the draft room, like the room where everybody saw like Kevin and AB this weekend. Like that is the draft room where we would have all of the draft meetings and any kind of like roster meetings. The board was totally covered from what I was told, and like so nobody knew other than Dorsey and probably Elliot Wolf like who he was going to take. So the way that we kind of figured out was, like, somebody saw that the betting odds for Baker that morning dropped like significantly, and everyone's like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this. But like that's like that's just my experience. Like, this is kind of similar, and it feels like it would have been a similar thing. Like, we would have had no idea of the trade on the golf course, and then like, oh, somebody heard this, and like, okay, now we're talking about that while we're coming up 18. So I think like it's a good sign that like leaks aren't happening. That's big for the team. But yeah, like I would have been surprised. Like I don't think there would have been a lot of discussion about trading the pick, like at least with the whole group, probably within AB's circle. Obviously there was, but like I don't think trade discussions would never happen during like draft meetings. Like that's just not how it works. It's about the prospects, and like it's about how they stack up against each other. Nobody's up there saying like, hey, we should trade the second pick for XYZ. Like that's not how it works. But like, yeah, I mean, I think it's a good move for the future. I think I said this on the live stream. I think it kind of signifies that regime, like that group, is safe and comfortable with their jobs. Because you're not trading down and giving up a pick that can like pump ticket sales and like sell jerseys if you are on a win or go home, kind of setup for this year. So I think that's something to note. But yeah, I think like that. I think the trade was good, and I think it'll work out. Like I definitely said on the stream, I wanted another pick for next year. But I think like as we'll see how it plays out with what they do with the extra first. But like I think that like it's a pretty good haul for what you got, and you got a potential blue chip player there with Graham. So like I think that worked out well. Overall, like the draft's a long process. Like when you're in the building, like if you're not the ones in the war room there, like on working phones, whatever you're doing, like it's a long day or it's a long weekend. The added like caveat of Sanders just continuing to fall would definitely have kept everybody kind of on their heels. And like I said this on the live stream, the NFL gives out like the live clock and like clock tracker, whatever you want to call it, to each team. Like each team gets a link to the clock, and it has, as picks come in, exactly when they get reported to the league, when teams hand them in, the next team goes on the clock immediately. So like when you're in the building, you are as up to date as you possibly can, much more than if you're watching at home. So sitting there, like imagining what it would have been like just see Sanders continue to fall. Like whenever like the Raiders came up or the Steelers, it was like, okay, this could be it, but nope, like it's going to keep rolling. And like you can, when you're in the building, you can see the picks. So like he's not going here, he's not going here. When that happens for the Browns, like, yeah, again, this is another thing. If you're not in the and if you're not in the room, you're probably not getting that information. Maybe if somebody hops out, they could be like, hey, watch out for this next pick coming up, or watch out what we're going to do. In the past, they would, once you get to day 3, like everyone's kind of not scattered, but like just kind of doing their own thing. Because when you get to like the 5th and 6th round, like you're trying to get prepared for calling undrafted guys and calling agents, and then calling players, getting a hold of whoever you can. You just want to get your ducks in a row so that when the draft ends, like you can, this is something that I've made clear, like getting rid of 7th round picks, and I mean 6th round picks as the Browns did this year, but like getting rid of 7th round picks for sure gives you such a head start on calling agents, and being the first guy or the first team to get in touch with a player's agent for a potential undrafted signing is huge, because like you can kind of set the bar of like how much money you want to give the guy and kind of get your name out there first. And then if they want to create any kind of bidding war, like, all right, you're kind of in pole position for that. So that's where everyone's kind of focus is as you get later on day 3. They might have called like everybody into like, say, hey, like so they always have all the area scouts in the war room for the pick announcement, which like that's standard pretty much across the league and across my time with the Browns. But they might have like, they've done this in the past where like they would tell everyone else like, hey, we will all be in a room, and somebody will call from the war room to like a different conference room in the building and be like, hey guys, we're going to trade up here. We're going to take Shador. Like that could have happened, because it's a big thing there, a big deal. So I don't know if that did, but that has happened in my experience. That would have been an exciting moment. Whether no matter what you feel about Shador, like again, I would love to. Hopefully, I can get in touch with my guys like as the offseason goes here, and just to see what the split was on him. I know that it was that not everyone was in agreement from what I've heard, but I don't think that's like very shocking compared to what obviously what happened in the draft. Like nobody took him until the 5th round.
I don't think it's bad either. Like I think
No,
not being in like total consensus is fine, and also the position from where Shador is like he's got to beat out Dylan Gabriel. Like the first thing he's got to do is just show that he's better than Dylan Gabriel. So
correct.
If he can't do that, it's such a different conversation or narrative to project to be like he couldn't beat this guy out. Like we're either putting him on the practice squad or he's not making the team. And clearly from Jake, I think flagged this either to us in the founders Slack or in on the pod yesterday, which is like you could just hear the difference of how the phone calls went between Gabriel and Sanders was pretty stark, just like in terms of how they articulated and approached each player. So, I think there's definitely some resetting of kind of how he's coming into this place and kind of the outcome that everyone's expecting or kind of waiting for, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've thought of thinking about it more. It's like it was almost like a risk-free pick to get Shador there. Like, I mean,
everyone was like a month ago. I was in Vegas that had the odds for it. I don't have it in New York, but like he was like 150 to go second.
Yeah,
plus 150.
No, I was not a Shador guy. Like if you listen to anything that I did with Jake, like I was not a Shador guy, but getting him there, like, yeah, it's like a risk-free pick. Cause like if he is what Mel Kiper thought he was, or what some people who rated him highly was, then you got him super cheap. His rookie contract's going to save you so much more. Like if he becomes like the Russell Wilson that for the Seahawks, when like they built the rest of the team, made Super Bowl runs while he was on the rookie contract, that rookie contract is going to be so cheap for Shador that it can help out even more. But if he's not, like, if he can't beat out Dylan Gabriel, like, there's no shot that he gets to the practice squad. Like, somebody will claim him when he gets cut. I highly doubt he will get to the Browns practice squad. But then worst case, he's not your problem anymore. And like, whatever he has basically from now until cut day to prove that the nonsense that he brings with him is worth it by his play on the field. And if he does that, then great. Again, he's a cheap option who's probably going to be your third guy to start the season at best. And then we'll kind of go from there. But like he's got what, 4 months or whatever it is until cut day to prove it.
I also think I would push back and say, I mean, listen, there's anywhere you can see this conversation, whether it's online, First Take, Fox Sports, any radio show, whatever. To me, he doesn't come with nonsense. He just comes with this new generation of being NIL confident. He's in Gatorade commercials. Like, it's just a question of, do you think that's someone worth being a backup? I don't think there was a consensus to not draft him. I don't think any of that stuff. I think you can put on Sanders whatever narrative of race or collusion or NFL personalities, the stuff you want to. It doesn't really matter, I think. He's just got to beat out Dylan Gabriel. And, the best case scenario, as you said, is like he could be someone who, if he becomes who he thinks and a lot of other people think he could be, could basically go a really long way in offsetting the headache of the dead money around Watson for the next 2 to 3 years. Like, really could be worth it. And same with Dylan Gabriel, too, I would say. Mm-hmm. So, I think they're in a really cool position. I keep thinking about this clip from, I think it's the pilot of Arrested Development, where Tobias and Lindsay are talking about how opening up a marriage is like terrible for anyone who does it. It always ends in failure. And then Tobias stops and goes, but it just might work for us. And that to me is like the vibe of this drafting 2 rookies. It's like, what is like, who cares? We've tried everything else. I think throwing them in there. And also I think that like the fact that to me, looking at the tape of them looking unpleased on Saturday afternoon and kind of insinuating, oh, Jimmy's in there, like this must be him coming in over the top like he did for Manziel. That to me is all total speculation. You can imprint on that whatever you want to, but to your point, there's no way they thought he was there in the 5th round. And
No.
getting him at that cheap and getting him in and proving and saying, go beat everybody out. Go show us. Him and Gabriel are pretty similar. They've both thrived everywhere they've been, and they've been a couple different places. So I'm excited for it, and I think it just really colored the draft in a way that I mean, it's fun to, after 3 years of Watson, to have the national media talk about the Browns in a way that's not making you feel bad for being a fan. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
I would also say too, the organization, maybe whether they wanted to or not, the circus surrounding Sanders is going to be a walk in the park compared to the circus they had for the last 2 years with Watson.
It
Like,
could
this is
be. Yeah.
it's a cakewalk. What's
It
like
could.
the
Yeah.
what's what I mean? You tell me though. Am I like
No,
they're used to this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's obviously coming with different vibes. Like, there's no doubt about that than what was going on with Watson. Like, spoiler alert, it's a completely different thing. I think it's just more like it's more like the internal workings of a team. I think that can get thrown off. That could get thrown off by him. Now, like, look, I think
Hold on. How could the internal workings of the team get thrown off by Shador?
I think it's this. You could really say this about like any hotshot rookie coming in. Like that. I think like the fact that the media focus has already been magnified on him, already been turned off on him, and like he's comfortable in it. That's probably a good thing that he's comfortable in it. But like, I'm not saying the Browns have these coaches like but you never know. You could have a curmudgeon-y coach who like doesn't want any of that crap in his meeting room or doesn't want anything or like, and like then that gets him pissed off. Like it's like a domino effect. I'm not saying that it can happen, but like it seems like something that could throw off
mean one of Dion's oldest friends and Super Bowl winning teammates,
Oh
Bill
my
Musgrave?
God. Yeah. Oh, I thought you meant what Michael Irvin said. That moron. My God.
Oh, no, I'm saying like who's going to be that guy? It's not going to be Bill Musgrave.
That's
and
true.
Also,
yeah.
I would also argue like it's not going to probably be Tommy Reese. Like I just think they're so prepared for this. And also there's never been, other than like kind of the insinuation of the stuff that's recorded on YouTube or just makes him a 20-year-old-ish kid in 2025, like when has there ever been anything about him being a bad teammate or having, I think it's like the illusion or all of like the components of what you would think would come with a lot of drama. But I actually don't think there's a there other than just kind of like people assume, yeah, maybe he sandbagged some interviews or maybe he did some stuff that was dumb or maybe him and his family were over their skis in terms of his draft position. But like all that is now totally irrelevant once he starts minicamp. It's totally irrelevant. Now, if he brings some bullshit and doesn't work his ass off and is bad in minicamp, then yeah, sure, that's legitimate. But I don't think other than him just showing up and seeing how he does, like none of that stuff to me carries over. And it's also like no matter what, it's never going to be as polarizing also for the fan base as it was for Watson. Watson was divisive in the fan base. Sanders is either going to suck or he's going to blow everybody away. And like that's the only thing that's going to divide the fan base. No longer is it off-field stuff. Like, sure, can he go like celebrate at the club and like rap and whatever? Yeah, but like so is every other 22-year-old kid, and like he made a bunch of money. Say Ewers is the same way. Ewers got drafted in what, the 7th round, I think. He's gonna make a third of the money in the NFL he was making in Texas this last year. So to me, this is more about like a cultural shift overall that Sanders just kind of happens to be the flashpoint of. That's my perspective.
That's fair. No, I think that's pretty fair. Like I really didn't think that, and I guess it was kind of like this thought might have had conflicting reports of like, yeah, he sandbag interviews. He wasn't like taking it seriously. The whole like all the combine stuff. I never really thought that. Like, I just didn't like him as a player. Like I didn't. I mean, I didn't get all the background stuff, obviously, but like, I didn't think that like he never came across in like interviews, like media interviews, maybe not team interviews, but media interviews as like a jerk. Like, in my opinion, like, I'm sure he says stupid stuff. He's a kid, like everybody does. But like, I never thought that like he was the driving force in like the media show behind him. Like, I think it was like everything with his team, his dad, whatever it was. Like, I never really got that vibe from him. Now, if he didn't show up well in the interviews, like, yeah, that's on him. And that probably swayed a bunch of teams. But like, I never thought it was him, but like, if you're going to, like, he needs to be smart about how he handles like entering the league and entering the team. Like, yes, I think it's pretty clear like how he handled the pre-draft process backfired. Like, I think the league made that pretty clear to him. So like, if he perpetuates that when he comes into the league, like, he's not getting the message. Like, that's not great. Like, teams aren't going to want to deal with that. So like, that's something that probably needs to get cleaned up if it hasn't already. Yeah, I mean, like, you're right. Like, the contrast between the circus around Sanders and the chaos around Watson can't be like more divided. Like, I mean, I was getting like comments from like from Buffalo. So like, when I would go home after the Watson deal, like, I would get comments from like mothers of friends of mine that were like, "What are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know. It's not my call. Like, what do you want me to do? Quit? I don't know what you want me to, like, yeah, I get it. It's pretty bad stuff, but like, I don't know why you're coming at me with it. Now this is just going to be like curmudgeon-y people who are like, oh, that's not the way that a professional should operate, kind of thing. Like, that's what it's going to be. And that's what, like, he's going to have to kind of prove otherwise.
Dare I say normal football fan team
Yeah.
stuff, which we have just been starved for years now.
It could be normal, like, old man yelling at clouds stuff, to be perfectly honest. Like, it's going to be like, you're going to hear the most, like, if you listen to the radio, there's going to be some old guys calling in, talking more about probably his father being the cause of it than like focusing in on Shador. Like, it's just going to be different. And like you said, yeah, it's going to be like, okay, we've heard these arguments before, like, just maybe in a different wording, but like, we've heard these similar like arguments when people don't care for a certain player because he's hot, he's confident, he's a hot shot. Again, I just didn't like him as a player that much, but like, I don't know like I don't know his personality background, so I didn't get that information. He didn't come across to me in like in media interviews as like a dick in any way, but like, obviously there's a lot that's coming with him. If he can clean it up, if he can keep it under control, then like, he's got an opportunity to prove people wrong. So, and maybe he takes advantage of it.
We'll get into this after the break in the subscriber section of the pod, more about Sanders and Gabriel. But my kind of last question for you is actually about the wide receivers. We just signed Deontay Johnson, which seems like he had a really tough year and seems a little prickly. We've also put a unrestricted free agent tender on Elijah Moore as well. My question to you more broadly, or at least my hunch, which leads into a question which I'd like you to kind of take, is I feel like Kevin's scheme, as it was prior to this last year with Dorsey, where they kind of really got away from what he does under center, play action, ball control. I feel like his scheme in the years previous was really good at getting receivers open, just like broadly. So to me, my hunch is like, AB's also never been great at drafting receivers in the first place, just with the track record there. Like, I am less concerned out of this draft of them not getting a receiver. I loved Fannin, who we'll also talk about, but like, is that something that rings true to you? Or do you think that they have more work to do in the wide receiver room?
Well, so I was surprised that they didn't get a receiver. I think we'll get into it, but like, some of the guys who were available around the picks that were made, like, were okay. Like, that could have gone with a receiver in multiple positions or multiple points in the draft. I mean, you talk about a year from hell for Deontay Johnson. Like, I don't know how. It's surprising that like he's still hanging around, to be honest. I don't know if anybody that like who's had that history like of being a good receiver and then ends up on 3 teams within a year. Like it's just I don't think I've ever heard that before.
It wasn't like Kadarius Toney though, who was like always kind of underperforming. He was good with the Steelers, and then
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
he was.
okay. Like he was good. Like so, it's like it just seems like everything went sideways, and I get the upside take there, but yeah, it is a little crazy. You definitely thought he would be done with the league after that.
Yeah, I just to get 3 chances in 1 year and like blow all of them. I mean, that doesn't seem like a guy who's going to like stick around, at least not at the beginning of the year, but like I don't we'll see what happens. The more thing, I mean that could end up being like we want to get the compensatory pick from it. Like if they might still not really want him to come back, but like if they have to, then fine. Um, I agree with you. Yeah, like receivers, like it's like the mark of a good offensive play caller and play designer when like guys are just running free. Like I know you see that with like Shanahan a lot in San Francisco. Like Ayuk's just like wide open in the middle of the field somehow. That was happening with Kevin. And I think like he tried to tweak to Deshaun, tweak the offense to Deshaun, and it just didn't really work out. It's a bit surprising with if they actually like get more back. I mean, he had 2 years to kind of like work it out, and he couldn't really figure things out and be an overly like a productive player, consistently productive player. So like I don't know like where he would fit in. I think that like they if you can find another one. I mean, it really might just be insurance to find until they find if they can't find another veteran option at receiver. I thought that there was plenty of receivers available in the second and third round, and even the fourth, but second and third round for sure, that could have come in and contributed right away. But they went different directions, which like again, I don't think the picks that they made were bad, but like there are other players that like could have influenced the team in a different way. You can say that about every draft. So yeah, like I think they still need work there for sure. But maybe somebody will get elevated this year and be a little bit more productive because it's presumably going back to what Kevin's offense has looked like in the past. That's you got to wait and see until they get on the field, see what they're running. But like I think that is probably the thought process of like, okay, we're going to be, even though we might not have a name, like a big name, we can still be stronger at receiver by getting back to like the roots of how Kevin has run his offense in the past.
All right, we'll get into more of the not receivers that we drafted in this draft after the break. If you are on the free side of this, thanks for listening. And if you want more of Brown Scout Scott, then stick around. We'll be right back.